Who's hungry? The deli's open. Hey guys, welcome to Wild Card Weekend. We're going to take a look at a few of the games for you this weekend, and I appreciate you guys stopping by each week. You know the drill. If you like the videos, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Let's get things started, and let's talk about the LA Chargers at Houston. Now, obviously, because we're in Wild Card Weekend, it's the playoffs. It's really not sandwich situations and trap games. So I'm going to break games down for you, kind of how I look at things in some angles that I'm looking at. And really, with the Houston Texans, this has got to be a week that if I am the coaching staff, I am drilling it in the heads of my players of how disrespected they are going into this game. They're a home underdog when they're a division winner to the Chargers. And last week, if you watched the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game, once Pittsburgh had no shot to win their division against because Baltimore won earlier in the day, the announcers, the narrative was setting that game up that Cincinnati needed to win the game to stay alive in the playoff wild card race. And for Pittsburgh, even though they were already in the playoffs, they needed to win to be able to go play Houston instead of playing Baltimore. And the announcer said, everybody wants to play Houston instead of Baltimore. Okay, so that's a slap to the face of the Houston Texans. Then when Pittsburgh lost on Saturday, what did we see? The Sunday game, all of a sudden, the Chargers at the Raiders, that's all they talked about, saying that now, since Pittsburgh lost, the Chargers can steal the number 5 spot and go face Houston, which is a big advantage. That's all I would be looking at. And for Houston, I think the fact that they did win a playoff game last year and they had that experience, and everybody's looking and saying they only went 3-2 down the stretch. The 2 games they lost down the stretch was to Baltimore and Kansas City with 2 elite quarterbacks. Granted, Justin Herbert is, I think, going to be an elite quarterback in the NFL, but the one thing that he doesn't possess that Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes has is mobility. And that is what has hurt Houston, is quarterbacks that can extend plays and run. And, of course, Lamar Jackson is the best in the NFL at that. And Mahomes, although he doesn't put up gaudy numbers running, he extends plays and gets first downs when he needs them. So for me, I am going to go ahead and look at Houston in this game. I'll also point out the fact that the Chargers, 11 wins, only 2 of their wins this year have come against playoff teams. And those 2 wins were against the same playoff team, the Denver Broncos. Let's go ahead and take a look at Houston plus the points as play number 1 this week. Play number 2, I'm going to talk about this Pittsburgh-Baltimore game. And I know the knee-jerk reaction is run to the window and bet Baltimore. Just remember that in this series, since 2020, Pittsburgh is 8-2 straight up against Baltimore. This is a heated rivalry, and granted, yes, Pittsburgh looked bad down the stretch, but if you listened to me all year, I told you Pittsburgh was going to look bad the final 6 games of the season because of the schedule that they had, including 3 games in 11 days. And they played the top teams in the AFC and NFC and all of their division rivals over the final 8 games of the season. But with all of that said, I'm not going to tell you to grab Pittsburgh in this game. I have found a stat that is very interesting with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. As good as Pittsburgh has been, one thing that Pittsburgh has not been good at, and since the 2022 season, Pittsburgh notoriously is a slow starter. They're just 2-10 against the spread on the first half line. Now, the first half line in this game is Baltimore -6. When Pittsburgh is on the road and they're playing on grass, which they will be doing on Saturday, I should say, Pittsburgh is just 2-10 against the spread in the first half. Why do I bring that up? Well, because Baltimore, going all the way back to 2005 when playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in this series, even though Pittsburgh has won 8 of the last 10 meetings, Baltimore in the last 20 meetings is 17-3 against the spread in the first half against Pittsburgh. I'm going to tell you, take a look at Baltimore, first half -6 in this one. All right, before we get to the next play, we're going to look at two more games for you in the playoffs. If you made it to this far of the video and you like what you see, do me the favor, just hit that thumbs up. It helps the channel a lot. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You won't miss any of the videos that we do for you. And we're planning more videos as we get into the basketball season. So we'll keep you posted on that. If you subscribe, you'll never miss a video. And the last thing I want to bring up is if you want to get my premium plays, and guys, we have had a great 2024. We're off and running again in 2025. And over the last 20 days, we're 31-15 with all of our plays, netting a profit of $3,200 for our clients. We're the #1 handicapper at Wager Talk since October 1st in Money One. And you know those 5% plays, they don't release them all the time, but 18-6 the last 24. If you want to get a 7-day subscription, we got a special offer. You can pick up 7 days, all sports, all plays for just $77. Just use coupon code MD77. That's MD77, and you'll get 7 days for just $77. All right, let's get to the next game. We're going to take a look at Washington and Tampa. Now, this is another one where the team with a better record is actually the underdog, but it should be that way because Washington, even though they have a better record with the wild card, they are the wild card team on the road where Tampa is playing at home. It's been a great year for Washington. I can't fault what they have done. Jaden Daniels' rookie season exceeded everybody's expectations. But I've got to note, this 12-win Washington team, only 2 of the wins came against teams with a winning record. And they beat Cincinnati in week 3. And if you remember, Cincinnati got off to that horrible start this year. That's why they missed the playoffs. Joe Burrow was coming back off of that injury from last year, and they were not the same Cincinnati team at the beginning of the season. The other one was a couple weeks ago. They beat Philadelphia. Now, if you remember that game, a couple points in that game. One, they fell way behind in that game and had to rally in the fourth quarter to get the win. But that was the game that Jalen Hurts was out and Kenny Pickett started for Philadelphia. Philadelphia with Kenny Pickett was beating Washington. Then Kenny Pickett got hurt and they had to go to a third-string quarterback that never played a down in the NFL. So Tanner McKee. So those 2 wins are kind of, got asterisks to them. Since Washington, as though they have a good record, you got to really question who they have beaten. And another thing I'll point out in this game for Washington, they are susceptible to the run. In the last 3 games, they've given up 487 yards on the ground. That's nearly 5 yards per play. Tampa Bay can run the football all day long. They've rushed for 150 or more yards in 6 of their last 7 games. And what that does is open up the passing game for Baker Mayfield. That Tampa running game, they have run for, like I said, 6 of the last 7 games. But then whenever that opens up the passing game, Baker Mayfield has thrown for 250 yards or more in 8 of the last 12 games, making Tampa a very dangerous offense to try to stop. The other thing I like about Tampa is because they didn't control their own destiny until the last week of the season. They had to keep winning down the stretch, and they won 6 of their last 7 games. I love backing teams. This is a good angle for you that had to win the final Sunday or final week of the NFL season to get into the playoffs. Those teams have momentum going into the playoffs and basically have a little bit of an advantage because they already, so to speak, played a playoff game. If you have to win your final game, you win and you're in to get into the playoffs, that basically is a playoff game. And that's what Tampa Bay had to do last week. So I like Tampa in this one, and I've got them 34-24. The last one I'm going to talk about briefly is the Minnesota Rams game. Now, first of all, there is talk that because of the fires in LA, they might have to move this game. No official word has come down yet at the time of this taping. If they do move the game, it's going to be moved to Arizona to be played in Phoenix. Now, if that happens, you'll see the line move in this game. Minnesota will become the favorite in this game, and you'll probably see Minnesota minus 1.5 or 2 across the board. The reason I bring that up is if we are getting the Rams plus money, I think they are an excellent leg of a teaser. You might say, well, why not, if the Rams are the favorite, tease Minnesota? That's probably good as well, but not as good as the Rams. And here's why. I think Minnesota is built to make a deep run in the playoffs, but I'm going to put an asterisk to that. It's because of last week's game. You've always heard me talk about teams can lose the same game twice. That is my concern with the Minnesota Vikings this week. That was such a big game last week. Last game of the season against Detroit, Sunday Night Football. And I know they got blown out, but that game was much closer than that final score indicated. Minnesota, it was a one-possession game going to the fourth quarter. It got blown open late. They had their opportunities with all the trips inside the red zone and especially inside the 5-yard line, coming away with nothing. If this team gets past this week, they're going to make a deep run. If you remember a few years ago when the Rams won the Super Bowl, I said their toughest game is going to be that first game of the playoffs when they faced Arizona. I said if they get past Arizona, I think this team can make the Super Bowl. Kind of thinking that with Minnesota, that if they can win this one, they probably make a run to the NFC Championship game. But this is a dangerous spot for them. And if they become the favorite, I've got to look to teasers with the Rams. So that's it for this week with the Sandwich Shop. Hey, drop me a comment. I check out the comments every week. I'll answer any questions you guys have. And I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us and watch these videos. As always, thanks for watching. Good luck with all of your wagers this week. And till next week, let's cash some tickets, guys.